Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about balancing issues, particularly balancing versus fun aspects of the game. For example, what I hear a lot of people talk about is that Ubisoft is stupid for balancing for the 1% of players in this game. Now, let's look at, for example, what the average player goes through, right? First off, they are a newbie, and they can't really do anything. They get cheesed. They use cheese themselves. Everything pretty much that they throw lands. Like everything is cheese. They can be cheesed with everything. And then, you know, he gets to like, I don't know, a medium skill level. And at that point, he has some good idea what's going on. Still doesn't know how to deal with most cheesy moves. And you know, I think that is also like where a lot of the complaining rather than learning happens. But I'll get to that later. And then of course the player will reach a higher skill level where he knows the ins and outs of the game and can deal with basically most cheese, or all cheese almost. You know, blocking lights, dodging, being actually able to dodge chain bashes and stuff. Some players are straight up don't know how to dodge chain bashes. A lot of players. Like, yeah, and you know, countering guard breaks with large attacks, stuff like that. And at the pro level, after that, they could reach like a, you know, reaction monster tier pro level where they are able to counter all reactable offense, basically. Block every light, maybe even parry every light on reaction, something like that. React to parry flashes and stuff like that. And, you know, imagine a player went through that in 2017, where basically no offense happens. What do you think will happen? Starts the game off, it's pretty fun, right? He lands attacks, can counter attacks, all good, all is good in the world. But then, he reaches high level duels, and suddenly he encounters that conqueror or lawbringer or whatever, and he parries all his attacks and just looks at him, and you know, he gets 3 outs, and he, even though his opponent didn't throw any attacks from neutral, and then he goes like, what is going on? And he searches up online and reads it as a defensive meta. And then, you know, he plays for a bit, gets very annoyed at the defense meta, and then leaves. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened, what is still happening with the, you know, high level players. Like, people just don't want to put up with this game at some point. In a lot of ways, because it is so problematic at higher levels. And then you know, nowadays it's a lot better. It's a lot better. You can have a lot more fun at like higher levels, because you can actually like attack and stuff. Every character has some sort of interesting like opening move that sort of works at least. And then, you know, we can say in conclusion that balancing for the 1% has the ultimate effect of keeping high-level players in the player base and keeping them interested, and thus keeping basically every player in the player base, because almost every player will probably become a higher level player who has some decent understanding of the game, right? And with that, you know, you can also say that it doesn't matter that much for the majority of the player base, because in the majority of the player base of Honor, most stuff just lands. Like, pretty much no matter what move you throw, a lot of stuff will just land. A lot of players play very risky, and you can just feint ordinary heavy to guard breaks, and you can almost like just be successful with that a lot of the time, you know. So I'd make the argument that balancing there doesn't matter as much, not nearly as much. It doesn't matter nearly as much in lower levels as it matters in higher levels. What really matters is just how fun the game is. And that is also why I think casual players need to still express their opinions, and the notion that casual players should somehow not express their opinions on the game is a fallacy in my opinion. Because we need fun and balance, and casual players will usually point out the unfun things about the game and the unfun things that balancing has caused. For example, the release Griffin or Hitokiri, the old Hitokiri with the neutral hyper armor. You know, that was not fun for the community, and they voiced their concerns, and Ubisoft actually nerfed that, and people still address it as like an issue. And although at the time I was also against the Hitokiri nerfs, but now I have to admit I think that was pretty justified, because it wasn't fun for the majority of the community. Not for me, but I'm also like, I've played this game since the beginning almost every day, like with like one pause maybe in between. And so I guess I'm not the majority, but the majority of the player base had a very unfun time with Hitokiri. And even I had a very unfun time with Griffin. And all other players, like the majority of the player base, had an unfun time with Griffin as well. So in my opinion, justified. It is sometimes justified to nerf characters because of fun issues with the game, not balancing issues necessarily. And I think that is, you know, what what everybody needs to understand is that it's an issue of improving balancing for the higher level players, and also keeping fun up and maybe improving fun for the majority of the player base on characters. Like, for example, there are fun changes to characters that happen, which aren't necessarily even that good for their performance in higher levels sometimes, you know. And with that out of the way, I would move on to my two big issues, or rather the community's two biggest issues, which are, first off, the CCU on console, which is kind of a shit show, to be honest, because the console already had input delay, so they weren't all that defensively based anyways. As far as I know, you could attack pretty well with light attacks already on console, and then the CCU exacerbated that. And now on old gen consoles, it is very hard to block lights, very hard to parry lights, as far as I hear. And what adds to that is the existence and the crossplay with next-gen consoles, which actually do need the CCU, because the next-gen consoles don't have input delay, like a PC, for example, or at least I think they have a lot lower input delay times than the old-gen consoles. They may not be at PC level or something, but that's already enough, you know. That already gives if you remove the CCU on the on the consoles, that would give the next-gen consoles a huge advantage and introduce a defensive meta again to the next-gen consoles. So you can't really do anything there. It's you know, I would say, you know, change the CCU on the old gen consoles, but that's not really possible. Crossplay between the old gen and new gen consoles, so it is just, it sucks really for the old gen consoles, and that's it. Like, For Honor just sucks there. That's all I can really say about that, and I don't know, man. It has been handled. It's just a bad reality that the old gen consoles just have a large amount of input delay. It just sucks. And that's all I can really say about that, because there's really no fixing that, except if you get a next-gen console, but next-gen consoles are, of course, mythical beings that don't actually exist in this world anymore. So, and then moving on to the next big issue, which is that playing offense in For Honor feels very easy and very cheesy at times, especially when it's very effective. For example, with Hitokiri or Shigoki, someone like that. It feels incredibly cheesy if you manage to properly chain someone and just feint to guard break all day. Or just let a few attacks go and just destroy them. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of just skill involved. Even though I know there's skill involved and the reading goes on and stuff like that, right? But a lot of the times the characters don't even have the HP pool for proper reads to happen. It's mostly guessing, especially in 4v4. Because the players can't get to know each other in that short time span that the HP pools allow for. Or it just still feels just very easy because it's just you kill somebody with like 2 button presses all the time. It turns into a glorified rock paper scissors, especially with like unblockable feinting to guard breaks, unblockable bash baiting to guard breaks, something like that. A lot of the time that is just the case. I do enjoy offense to some degree. I enjoy the mind reading part. The reading part. Like reading my opponent is fun. But I will say it is very simple in For Honor. You don't need a lot of input or precision or whatever, mechanical awareness, whatever, you know? And in turn it also feels very bad to die from such easy offense when it's executed on you, because anyone can do it. There is no real skill requirement for churning out unblockable to guard break feints, you know, something like that. And so I know in For Honor that can probably not be fixed because it's too ingrained in the game, and the game was more defensively designed, so offense is very easy. And I guess the only thing that would really be possible would be to change something in For Honor 2. I'm not sure what, but maybe you could do something like make very damaging offensive moves or very effective offensive moves harder to perform mechanically by, I don't know, introducing like special inputs or making chain linking harder under certain circumstances, something like that. Or making, what was it? Confirming a damage harder. So for example, like a double light, making that harder and more punishing when you confirm the wrong turn. But yeah, I would think that would lead to more moments where you go like, wow, I was actually properly outplayed and outmatched, rather than, oh, he just got lucky. He just guessed right a lot of the times, right? Because that is, I think that's just such a big factor why people constantly call out lightspam or call out spam or something like that, you know? Just also added to the CCO, because it's so easy to just press a bunch of buttons. No, not even a bunch of, it's literally just one button for lightspam, right? And it works in on most people in For Honor, lightspam like works, you know? But yeah, of course there's a counter to it, and I know that it is possible. Like you can dodge, for example, but or use frame advantage, but on old gen consoles, for example, you can't, like, blocking is gonna be hard, parrying is gonna be extremely hard, and yeah, it just doesn't feel very well. That's what I'm saying. Offense. While, you know, defensive moves in this game feel great. You know, Warden top crushing counter, very cool to pull off. Kyoshin full guard, very satisfying. Black Prior flip, very cool. I like that. Orochi deflect, very cool, very fun. But Shugoki landing like an unblockable heavy is just like, alright, I guess I'll die. I guess I got it wrong. You know? That's the difference I'm trying to talk about here. So, yeah. I know currently the devs are really balancing the game well. And it has become much more fun in the past months. A lot more fun. But the necessary big buffs to offense also end up making the game feel worse for large parts of the player base, because offense just does not feel good when it hits you, and even when you perform it often. You know, that's just it. And yeah, I think for Honor would maybe be less frustrating and stuff if the devs could do something about those issues at some point. But I don't think that will, to be honest, happen in For Honor. Maybe in For Honor 2. Maybe. But yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to say about that. And because I think it's a bit hard to grasp the issues underlying in this game, the underlying issues in this game. And if you want to comment about that, I'm up to have my mind changed. If you disagree with me or whatever, you comment, you go use the comment section and let me know what you think about that. Because I'm not infallible. Or what? Not infallible? I'm not sure which word to use. I'm not perfect and I do make mistakes, but that's at least my opinion on the game. So yeah, let me know in the comment section, like, subscribe and all that. See ya.